Welcome again, everyone. What an interesting way of starting for me. I've never had so many technical difficulties after we started. For the ones who weren't there, just watching the video, congratulations for the comfort. And thank you everyone who has been through the technical difficulty part. So if you see the video lagging, it is probably lagging. But let's stay positive and engage going through our topic today, which is our path to coaching credentials with the International Coaching Federation. We are people who chose coaching as a path, and there are also many others who did that, but they might be coaching differently. So the impression of people on coaching are varying based on the experience they are getting. And it is even more important that there are so many coaches and different kind of coaching that we focus on the professionalism of our profession. And we find I am Işıl, a co-founder of BeCoach Academy, and my co-founder Elena, who is not here now, when we decided to become coaches, it was very important for us to have the professional credentials, and we found the global body International Coaching Federation as the most trustable institution to get our coaching training with from an accredited institution. And when we decided to offer coaching training, it was for us a fundamental to offer an accredited coaching training. So we as the founders are credentialed coaches, and we have been offering accredited coach training for people who want to get their coaching credentials since 2017. So we have here people who are going through this training with us. So I can say that is important for us, and I see that it's important for you to get a credential. And you are not the only one. We have some data from customers that they also want coaches who have credentials. So this is from the survey of International Coaching Federation, and they say, the client says 85% of them say it's very important that the coach has a certification or credential. When I say credential, I am talking about a title, a coaching title. And we are now focusing on the titles from the International Coaching Federation. So there are other coaching bodies, but the credentials that we will be talking about are from the International Coaching Federation. So you might see there is EMCC, for example, European Mentoring and Coaching Association. So there might be others as well. There might be local authorities. ICF is the biggest global body that standardizes coaching, coaching training, credentials coaches, accredits institutions to provide coaching training, provides researchers, actually, the coaching profession, its impact, its benefit, and creates and maintains a network of coaches that work together and collaborate. So we are an ICF accredited institution as BeCoach Academy. As I said, I'm a credentialed coach. So what I speak is speaking from experience, but also knowledge as an accredited institution. We are talking about coaching titles, which in the ICF world is called credential. We have some confusion sometimes because credential is for people who want to get professional coaching titles. And then we have another word called accreditation, which is for institutions to provide professional coaching training. So BeCoach Academy is an accredited coaching institution. I and you will be, or you are already, a credentialed coach. So these terms are getting confused sometimes. Let's clarify that first. And then when we talk about credentials, we have three different credentials. So ACC, Associate Certified Coach, PCC, Professional Certified Coach, and MCC, Master Certified Coach. So these three credentials are separated, we can say, with three criteria. One is a training requirement. So how much training have you received based on ICF guidance of what a professional training is, which means the coaching competencies, which means coaching behaviors, and also the code of ethics of International Coaching Federation. How does a coach act in potential conflict situations? What is the transparency? What are the promises and professional standards of a coach? All is part of the coaching ethics. So ICF requires all the coaches to have gone through a training that is based on the coaching behaviors and coaching ethics. So there are different training requirements for each of these credentials. The minimum requirement is with the ACC, then raising up to MCC. So we can say ACC, PCC, and MCC are all in order in terms of the training requirement, experience requirement, and coaching level. One thing that you should know in advance, although PCC is a higher credential, you don't have to be an ACC first to become a PCC. We will talk about how you can become one of each of these. Actually, we will not be focusing on MCC today, but mostly ACC and PCC. But if you want to ask questions around it, I will be happy to help as much as I know about it. So you can be right away a PCC coach without being an MCC, without being an ACC. But if you want to become an MCC coach, it is a requirement that you have been a PCC coach. So between these three credentials, there is a relationship between MCC and PCC, but you could right away become a PCC coach if you meet the requirements. So that is the first thing that I want to share with you. Training requirements is one thing. Experience requirements. So each of these credentials require a different level of coaching experience. What does it mean? We are going to go through that. And each of these credentials have a different way of coaching, and I can share more about that. So let's go through the training requirement. For ACC credential, the training requirement is 60 hours of accredited coach training. And ICF made it simpler right now with their accredited training. So like BeCoach Academy, you can see the small 1 and 2 signs in the bottom. So these are the level 1 and level 2 training we are offering. ICF said, well, let's simplify it. Level 1 training will be able to apply for an ACC. So any level 1 training institution has to provide minimum 60 hours of accredited coach training. But you might have a higher level of training, which is already for PCC level, which would be minimum 125 hours of coach training. And ICF said, okay, minimum the training for a PCC, let's go level 2 diploma. So any institution that provides level 2 diploma means that they are providing you the training requirement for PCC credential, which again, once you graduate from a level 2 diploma, without applying for ACC, you can right away apply for PCC if you want, but it's up to you to apply for ACC also with your level 2 diploma, which then you can, when you have enough of other requirements, you can switch to the PCC credential. All right, for MCC, you need 200 hours of accredited coach training. So you might have accumulated your training in different ways, multiple ways, but it has to be 200 hours. So it's more than the PCC requirement. In our training, we have 137 hours of accredited coach training hours, which if you would go for MCC, you would still need to add 63 on top. Experience requirement. So when I talk about experience, I am meaning how much have you already coached? But here's an important part, since your start of your coach training. So anyone who has the coaching experience prior but has not had coach training cannot count the hours previous to the coach training, but the hours could be only counted after the coach training. In the ICF world, that is an important thing to know. If you want an ICF credential, your experience hours are counted with the start of your coach training. But your coach training, I will talk about it later, doesn't have to be ICF accredited. If you had any coach training, you can still get it counted, but from a different path than level 1 or level 2. We will go to that. So you need 100 hours of coaching experience, which means that you have coached someone professionally as their coach. And we have also some details underneath of this. So what does 100 mean in terms of professionalism? We have paid coaching and unpaid coaching, or pro bono coaching as we call it. So for ICF credential, you need to have 75 hours of paid coaching, and 25 of these hours could be pro bono. When we talk about paid coaching, this becomes a little bit of a stressful situation for many, because they say, okay, how I'm going to start charging? I'm just starting my coaching training. What ICF defines as paid coaching is coaching in exchange for money or service or goods. So it should be exchange of something that costs to you, costs to the coachee. So you could count coaching other coaches in training, coaching exchange, as paid coaching as well. So many coaches who start their coach training start collecting their coaching experience as peer coaching. So the important part for you all to know here is that a coaching that was already part of your training requirements, which means as part of the 60 hours or 125 hours that is stated here, cannot be counted as experience hours. So in our course, we have coaching lab sessions, for example. In other courses, it might be other settings where, as part of the training, coaches coach each other. So if it's as part of training on the spot, as part of training hours, then these don't count as coaching experience. So anything outside of that training setting or number of hours would count as coaching experience. So coaching lab sessions for BeCoach people don't count as coaching experience, but your peer coaching that you do with your peers from the coaching training, or anyone that is not part of BeCoach Academy but takes coaching training somewhere else, when they do peer coaching outside of their coach training, then this counts as coaching experience. And as I said, 75 hours should be paid. Then for PCC, we are getting up to 500 hours of coaching experience. So that is a decision many people make. Do I want to wait to get my PCC credential, 500 hours, or do I want to first get an ACC, and then when I have enough hours, get a PCC? That was the route I chose. I had a level 2 training personally. I wanted to get my credential as soon as possible. So first I applied for ACC, and then next I applied for PCC. But some people say, I don't have any urgency. I will continue coaching, and my first credential will be PCC. So if that's the case for you, or you consider that, then you will be collecting 500 hours of coaching experience. And again, you could get some of these coaching hours as pro bono, which means you don't get anything in exchange for your coaching. Then you can have at least, maximum 50 hours of pro bono, and 450 hours should be paid for PCC level. So MCC is a bit more distanced compared to the distance between ACC and PCC. Here we have 2,500 hours. So this is, you are coaching frequently, you have clients, ongoing clients, so that might take whatever time it takes for you, but you need to get 2,500 hours. And here we have paid coaching should be 2,250 of these 2,500 hours. And as I said, you can only get MCC when you have been already PCC before. So you need this experience because coaching develops by coaching. And actually, it takes experience to come to the level of coaching PCC. We are accredited training institutions will train you to these levels, but it will also develop through experience. So when we talk about ACC level of coaching, it is still the place the coach might take charge or takes charge of the coaching conversation, and we say lead a bit, which means the sources of questions, the direction comes from the coach, and the coach might sometimes actually suggest certain things or occasionally invite the client to dig there and go there, but still staying in a place of a coach, which means curious, inviting the client to think for themselves, everything that a coach does. But the pressure is less, let's say, in the ACC level of coaching. So this level of coaching is being assessed for you to get your credential. If you are going through an accredited training institution, like if you get through a level 1 or level 2 program, then your coaching training institution will assess your level based on, we do it by reviewing your graduation recording based on the ACC level or PCC level, from which level you are graduating from. If you don't go through level 1 or level 2 programs, then ICF does it instead of a coaching training. So we will talk about which paths these are. But in either case, your way of coaching will be assessed for you to get a credential. So as I said, ACC has the least pressure, maybe least highest. Low, I don't want to say lowest, but less pressure for coaches, let's say that. And when we come to the PCC level, now the coach is taking more of a backseat than ACC level, which means the coach is more partnering with the client. So many of you know this probably. Is partnering more, responding in the moment, doesn't have to know where to go, but is able to co-create in the moment with the client. And at the same time, whereas ACC is more, let's solve this problem, let's do what is the challenge, let's do what is at hand, let's find ways to move forward. PCC is more like, okay, what is it that makes this challenge actually important for you, and who are you in this challenge? And once you go through this challenge, who will you become? Who do you want to become? So we say this coaching is more interested in the being of the client rather than solving problems or just focusing more on the face value, the hard things to resolve. It does that, but it goes beyond that. It goes into more into the potential and the being of the client. And then the MCC level goes even more into that being level and takes even a less guiding, or it is more like magic touches here and there, mostly holding that space. So the coach that is in the MCC level, or coaches in the MCC level, is working with holding space, trusting intuition, and only making this right touches here and there, and most of the time letting the client go through and guide the session. So actually, the higher level we come, the less we do, but the more we are. So we like this kinds of woo-woo words in coaching, being and doing. So the more being part of coach becomes important, the higher the coach becomes, and less the doing, like really finding the right questions and so on. Yes, so in the ACC and PCC, if you go through an accredited coach training with the new standards, like these are called level 1 and level 2 training, this will be done, the assessment will be done by your coaching training, but in MCC, it is always done by the ICF. So your assessment of your coaching level will be done by ICF. So you will always provide your recordings directly to the ICF when you are an MCC or when you apply for an MCC credential. Any questions in this moment maybe before we move forward, I told you not to ask questions, but I think this was too much information. So I think there might be some burning questions here. You are required to keep a list of people you coached. And because we are in Europe, we are in US, the laws can be different. But in Europe, it's a requirement to ask for permission to keep any personal data. So in addition to putting people in the log, we need to also get from them this written permission that we are recording their data in our system somewhere. And if ICF asks us or audits us, we will be sharing with them. So for coaching as part of your job, you need to verify if you are allowed to put these people in your coaching log with their names and contacts. Sometimes it is not possible because of privacy. Says that you have to provide them a certain, or you have to get from your from the institution that you are coaching in a statement that tells how many hours you have coached with them, and also has the copy of the clauses of the privacy policy that tells why you cannot share the data. You can decide which credential you apply to. With your training, you would be eligible for PCC right away. But if you say I don't have 500 hours yet, or I will not wait, then you can apply for ACC first. PCC, ACC, they all go through the same exam. No, I mean, I'm saying it makes sense from the point that you don't have to apply 2 times for a credential. From the money perspective, it might make sense. From the time perspective, maybe. But if you will be using a credential, you need a credential as soon as possible. In this case, people who want to work with clients right away, paid clients, or people who want to join a consulting company, coaching company, a coaching platform, they need urgently the easiest way to their credential. They might not wait for 500 hours. Then in this case, maybe ACC makes more sense. So that's why I was curious about the sense perspective that you have. What you need to do if you have applied for ACC and you have level 2 diploma, when it's time for you to apply for PCC, when you added 400 more hours to your experience, then all you need to do is apply, and you will need to take the exam again, the same exam once more. So ICF requires all upgrades to credentials to be matched with exam again. Apart from that, you don't have any other requirement. For the PCC level, you don't have any other requirement. From ACC to PCC, all you need is applying for it and pay the price of the credential application to the ICF, because you already have the mentoring required by PCC and you have the training required by PCC, and you were already assessed to graduate from a level 2 diploma on the PCC level, so you don't need anything else. There's an experience requirement for all of these credentials, which is like a recency requirement. So ICF doesn't want you to have coached last time 5 years ago and now apply for a credential, except for MCC. For MCC, I haven't found such a requirement for the recency, but for both ACC and PCC, there is a recency requirement, and this is for PCC. At least 50 hours should be in the last 18 months before your application time. Because we have talked about passing from ACC to PCC, I can quickly touch for people who will be applying to ACC and maybe not thinking to apply for PCC. In the ICF world, credentials have times validity. So a credential's validity is 3 years for all of the credentials. So every 3 years, we are renewing our credentials. And renewal means that you are keeping your knowledge active. It is, ICF says that you have to continuously attend to trainings or do self review, peer review, that you have to verify that you have, they call it continuous coaching education units, CCE, CCEU sometimes. And you need to have at least 40 hours of continuous coaching education, which ICF actually provides. When you are a member of ICF, then you will be having access to webinars, training content, which you will be able to gather your 40 hours. And if you do other side trainings that are relevant to coaching or might be accredited with ICF, or you are reading books that you will be writing detailed explanation on how this actually could be counted as continuous education for a coach, you can count this as well as your 40 hours of coaching training or continuous coaching education. So anyone that is renewing their credential in all of these levels need to have the continuous coaching education. But for ACC, there is an additional requirement. So if you have been an ACC for 3 years, and now after 3 years, you are not yet in the experience level of PCC, you have to renew your ACC credential. In addition to these 40 hours, you will need to also have 10 hours of mentoring. Or, sorry, not in addition to, 10 hours of mentoring will be a requirement for ACC credential renewal. And you will need additionally 30 hours of continuous coaching education. What I did, and hopefully you can also do, is that I was able to come to the PCC level when it was my time to renew my ACC credential. But I guess it will not be the case for me when it's time to renew the PCC credential. I guess I will not be in the MCC level. It's practical because when you upgrade, so when you upgrade from ACC to PCC, if you have taken the level 2 diploma, then basically you don't have to add anything. You have already been trained. You already have all the requirements. But it's interesting we can talk about the ones who have gone through the level 1 diploma and will apply to ACC. When it's time for you to apply for PCC, then you might have a couple of options. You might continue your training with us and take the level 2 diploma. And then you can apply to PCC, as we have described how the level 2 graduates could do. Or you might choose the other path, which I can show you what that is in a second. But I would suggest the level 2 diploma. I have a short, I guess I told you already. So level 1 and level 2 training has a fastest pathway to credential application. So level 1 is assuring the training for ACC. Level 2 assures the training for PCC. And now let's go through the credential path. Everyone who has joined after, I guess, 2022 June are in the level 1, level 2 path. The ones who joined before that were in the ACSTH path. So the difference between those two is that ACSTH path was coaching training without the level assessment and without the mentoring program. So in this case, whoever graduated from the ACSTH had to additionally get their mentoring and also then submit their recordings to ICF when they apply for credential. Whereas in the level 1, level 2, the assessment of the coaching level and also the mentoring is as part of the coach training. So I created a comparison for these different levels. the training requirement for credential is fulfilled already with like level 1, level 2, and ACSTH. They are accredited coach training. Portfolio path is the path that is might be anything. So it doesn't necessarily have the accredited training, but you are creating your own case of how the training you have gotten actually fulfills the training requirements of ICF for that credential. Portfolio path might be useful if you got a training somewhere in the past, and then you say in this training this and this and this were taught, that they match with the way ICF teaches, which means the coaching as ICF defines it and the behaviors that ICF actually defines. So you can explain how this coaching training was, and then the benefit would be that your coaching experience would be then starting to count from that place, the first training that you received as coaching training that you received. So if you have past coaching experience that you want to make use of, you can count a past coaching training and then go through the portfolio path. So this is relevant for, that's why people use portfolio path. They have not gone through level 1 or level 2 diploma, but they have pieces of training here and there. And there are certain trainings that are not the full diploma program of ICF or targeted for ICF credential, but specific trainings like an NLP training that is maybe also accredited with ICF, but not with the level 1, level 2. There is another accredited coach training hours, CCUs, that might be also, you have different CCUs from here and then together they make 60. Then you can put them together and apply from the portfolio path. So that's the benefit of portfolio path. You will see that level 1 and level 2 diploma has the biggest benefits because it includes already most of the requirements, and it's also financially cheaper path. So we see here the training requirement is fulfilled, mentoring requirement is included in level 1. As ACSTH, the old system, it was added on top of it. Level verification, so how do I coach? Am I coaching at ACC level, PCC level? This is done by ICF in the portfolio path and in the ACSTH path. You submit 2 recordings to ICF. For ACC, you submit 1 recording. The evaluation time is much longer for ACSTH and portfolio paths, and the pricing is higher for these 2 paths because, as I said, ICF does the assessment and they engage assessors. They mostly engage 2 assessors per each recording. Therefore, the charge is more for these 2 levels. Okay, so I have actually, that was what I wanted to share, the difference of portfolio. So for anyone, I guess this was what the point I was making. The level 1 graduates, when they are ready with 500 hours, but they still miss the hours, so they have the option. So the most straightforward option is to go to the level 2 diploma program and get their level 1s already counted in it. So they do just the rest. They don't have to do the mentoring again. They need to do the rest of the training hours. Or if they say, I want to get a bit of that kind of NLP training and I want to get neurodiversity coaching, so they will be not getting the rest training as a level 2, but partially accredited coach training hours here and there. So they might then choose to apply from the portfolio path. But in this case, you have to then count the higher evaluation time and a bit higher price of application. So that's something that you can choose. But my recommendation is more straightforward path is to go to level 2 diploma when you are ready to become a PCC. Okay, so that's basically what I wanted to share with you. What happens after you get a diploma is that you will need to complete your hours required for your aspired credential. You make sure your log is complete, as we talked about, the contact data, consents you take. You apply on the ICF website, and you then get the credentialing exam, you pass it, then you will be awarded your credential. So you have a couple of options, Mel.
Yeah.
You could continue from this path, ACSTH. If you want to renew, the requirement, as I said, is you have to have 40 hours of continuous coaching education. And then you need to, again, have 10 hours of mentoring before your credential expiration. For your renewal, and then you can apply. You don't have to provide recording because that's already a credential that you have. If you want to become or apply for the PCC, then again you have two options. You can continue with the ACSTH path. In this case, you will need to get mentoring, and also you will need to submit 2 recordings to ICF for your PCC application. Or you come to us, so you have already enough training hours. That's not a problem. You come to us and you then send us a recording. So we will be then, it's a service that we will provide to you. We will verify your coaching recording, and when it passes the PCC level, then we can give you a level 2 diploma. So you can come to us, and then you apply to PCC from the level 2 track rather than ACSTH, which means that you will not need to have mentoring, and you will not need to submit them 2 recordings, but you will submit us 1 recording in advance. How do you start? You join the program, and I will tell you what we have. We have the training weekends, so all level 1 training and level 2 training. Level 2 is the bigger training. Level 1 training has 2 training weekends, and we have practice sessions where you will be then practicing, getting feedback on your practice. We have lab sessions, which is, the practice sessions are the lab sessions. We have demo sessions where you are observing a coaching and then discussing with your peers and the supervisor what coaching behaviors were there and what were the opportunities that you could have taken. So together we use the hive mind to think of possibilities and learn from each other. And these are the training components. And then there is mentoring. So that's like all the training institutes that provide level 1 and level 2 diploma will be having mentoring as part of their training programs. And the mentoring is there to support the person to come to that level of coaching that they aspire to. So level 1 brings the person really to ACC level of coaching, and level 2 mentoring brings the person to PCC level of coaching. And that has to be in a period of 3 months. Where you work, in our case, we do 7 hours of these 10 hours of mentoring in a period of 3 months in a group setting. So we will have every second week a mentoring session where we will be talking about the coach behaviors, and then you practicing and getting feedback and learning from this experience. So every second week, and then the last month would be for you to individually book mentoring sessions so that you can ask your questions or get feedback on your recording, so you will be prepared for your final graduation recording. Or you can coach on the spot and get feedback from your supervisor, from your mentor. So the training, the practice that you are doing as part of your coach training, then the mentoring, all of this comprises your coaching training experience. And then you graduate with a final assessment of your coaching in all the programs that is so. And once you graduate, then you follow one of the credentials path that we talk about. So basically you apply for a coaching training, and you go through training modules, you do practice, and then on the side you gather coaching experience. So in my opinion, all of the training institutions, as far as I know, have also a requirement of experience. You approach anyway to the credential level through going through a coach training. So in our case, we have for level 2 diploma 100 hours of coaching experience requirement. in our training, we have training weekends, and you might join the training from any of these weekends and complete the whole program in a circular fashion. So our upcoming training weekend will be in September, but the group is starting around like 15th of September. We will have a kickoff session, if I'm not mistaken exactly the date. So the 20th of September is then the first training weekend. Then after 2 weekends, we have the other training weekend. So you can join us in any of these training weekends. Ideally, you start from the beginning with the 20th and 21st of September. And then once you complete the 5 training weekends, in between you are completing the practice sessions. And then once the training weekends are over, we are inviting you to the mentoring program. You could keep on developing your coaching experience. And then after the mentoring program is over, we wait for you to send us your final recording to graduate. So that's how it works.
Helpful.
Yeah. And in terms of timing, it might take up to, so the training itself, because it has 3 months of mentoring and 5 training weekends for level 2 diploma. So you can assume it takes 8 months. And then you need to see what is your rhythm of collecting your coaching hours to graduate from the program and apply for the credential. So there are people who are quite tactful. They go in a certain rhythm. So we had a graduate who have applied for her credential in 6 months after she started the coach training. So she was able to gather 100 hours in 6 months. So, but it changes for everyone. Some people are fast, some people want to take slow. So that could be the time. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great rest of your day.